All right, Bill. This meeting is called to order, the municipal council work session meeting Monday, January 24th, 6 PM. Call to the pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brusher.
Here.
Councilmember Coyle.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Patel.
Here.
Councilmember Patil. Councilmember Pointer.
Present.
Councilmembership Freeman.
Present.
Madam Clerk, adequate notice?
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided on your notice sent to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, Sentinel, and Desi Talk on November 25th, 2021, and posted in main lobby municipal complex on the same date.
Okay, we're just gonna, we have number 4, oral petition remarks. Anybody from the Republic wants to make a comment? We have Maria Orchard, you want to come up? Comment? Yeah, we have the oral petition remarks.
Yeah, because that's at the beginning.
I'm sorry, forgive me, Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. I'm so used to the combined sessions, I thought I had some time to put my notes together. The one thing that I want to say is, again, thank you for all of your hard work for the township. I look forward to a most engaging year with everyone. Also up here representing beautiful Edison, as we are going to look for this year to have some exciting events throughout the whole town. Also looking for the resident suggestions on how to make Edison, the whole of Edison, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Is there anybody else for oral petition remarks? Anybody else? Council members, is there a motion to close the public portion? You have to close it?
So moved.
Do I have a second from the council member?
Second.
Good, second from Nish. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving forward, council members, just remove the, review the minutes from the reorganization of the meeting on January 5th and the combined meeting of January 12th. Okay. Any questions? See no questions. Administrative agenda number 6 from Mayor Sam Joshi. Any comments? Appointment for the members of the planning board, appointments for the municipal judge. Moving down, number 7, report from all council member committees. We have not appointed any yet. Did anybody want to make comments?
Want to say something first?
Oh,
You still make comments if you want to.
Council President, I was going to ask you if you can give us the committee assignments so we could start scheduling the meetings.
Absolutely. I plan to have it done before the next council meeting.
Well, I know, but we don't have to approve them at the council meeting, right? They're just handed out and then we can get
Yeah,
started?
exactly. I mean, I think traditionally we finished it the second week of February. I'm just following the same tradition.
Okay.
Okay, well,
I'll take care of it right away.
thank you.
Okay? Are there any questions on? Ed?
From, on the old schedule of committee reports, the committee reports, Rich Brescher and I met on Tuesday with the Veterans Committee, and we seem to be moving along on point, that we will have the Veterans Memorial on Veterans Day in November. Should be an outstanding, presentation. The Edison, also, I went, the Board of Ed meeting, the next one, committee meeting will be on February 8th at 11 a.m. in the morning. And also, I went to the Housing Authority meeting, which is scheduled for, at that particular time. They said they're, waiting on a new member, and they're going to do some new things, such as RAD for the incoming year. They want to set up some committees for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other council members would like to comment on committees? Seeing none, I'll move to points of light number 7. Any council members have, I'll let them go. I'll do mine last. Any council members have points of light they want to discuss?
Council President?
Yes.
Yes, I do. On Saturday, this past Saturday, I attended the New Jersey League of Municipalities, the workshop for newly elected, re-elected, and experienced municipal workers. And one of the units that I was particularly struck by was the one about the function of the town clerk. And it was really quite enlightening. And I just want to express my debt of gratitude to what Cheryl and Marlena do. I cannot believe how much is on their plates. And they are unsung heroes of our town government. So I just want to recognize the work that they do and give them a round of applause for their hard work. There's more to it than appears on the surface. So I thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I can't help. I will add that since I've taken the role as council president, the clerk's office has been fantastic, and Madam Clerk has been nothing but supportive for the things I'm new to learning and for the things that have changed in this new administration. So thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any other points of light from council members that want to discuss? I'm going to read a few things here. I just want to thank Recreation for the wonderful job they did on January 15th. We celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday, which was a wonderful success. Everyone enjoyed the day. There were over 275 entries for the Martin Luther King contest, which included essays, poetry, artwork, which filled the walls of Minnieville Community Center for all to look and see. What an awesome job the students did. Council Vice President, do you want to add to that?
I want to speak about stuff during when council people speak, when I give my remarks. And the other thing, then I'll
I'll
discuss
continue.
all those things. Thank you.
Valentine's Day dance we have on February 2nd at the Minnieville Center at 6:30 to 9. Signups are at edisonnj.gov. We have a Lucky Paws Bingo Night on February 19th at St. Matthew's Church in the cafeteria from 7 to 9 p.m. Spaces available. Sign up today at edisonnj.gov. That's all I have. If there are no other points of light from the council members, I'll move on to the business. From the business administrator, number 9. We have 2 items. A, any discussions? Seeing no discussions, we'll move to 10, the Department of Recreation. From the Department of Finance, we have A, B, C, D, E, and F. Are there any council members for discussion? Councilmember Butcher?
Yes, Council President. We have D, which I guess we have, this is the resolution.
Yes.
And I guess there are some lines that I guess we would need to fill in on this, correct? And this was the 18% interest, which I guess is to motivate people to pay their taxes as opposed to paying other bills. But we can make it a little less, or we can change some of the terms.
I got it. Just had to look at me and I would have picked that up. And my voice is so big, I don't need a microphone generally, but I hear it. So the percentages of 8 and 18% are there. It is, last meeting you asked me about it, or the council asked me, and I stated at that time I didn't think you could change it, and you can but I strongly recommend that you do not. It's a longstanding policy to make incentive to pay people pay taxes. Residents that are behind, they're not going to be paying that 18%. That's usually smaller. I just think that my recommendation to you is not to change it, to keep it the standard that it's been the standard here for years, decades. It's the standard in most every town, any town that I've ever experienced, it's that. So, but you do have the option to change it. Your decision, bad policy decision, but it's one I'll tell you that you can do, based on the attorney's research. And Bill, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, that's what we had done the research initially. The members of council asked us to look at this just a little under 2 years ago now, during when the pandemic was first hitting. There was a lot of interest among council and among the mayor to reduce it, and we had actually drafted the resolution, and then the governor issued his executive order, and that made the whole thing moot. So we sat on it. There was no need to do it after that. I have some policy concerns, but you're not hiring me for policy, so I'll remain quiet.
And there's no way for us to differentiate, or maybe there is, like through a dollar amount, like as a threshold. You know where the concern is, I guess, with the pandemic, I guess, and people in their homes, you know, if they had a rough quarter, or like we do, since we don't pass the budget like until the third quarter, they end up getting hit with that additional charge in the fourth quarter. So, which is right during the holidays, you know, so it kind of like hits people with a double whammy kind of thing. Is there a way for us to maybe raise that one threshold?
I would have to defer to the town attorney on that.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Well, the thought is there's two thresholds here, right? One for the 8 and one for the 18. Could we have a higher dollar amount for the first threshold, so that, let's say you're a resident, and you missed your quarter of taxes and it's $4,000 and it's because of the holidays, pandemic, whole thing. If that first threshold was a little higher, you know, to give them, I guess, you know, a little bit more time before they jump up to that 18% type thing.
I can take a look at that, Councilman. My concern is that I think it may run afoul of constitutional requirements. In terms of
That's
treating
where I'm
people
going.
equally.
That's what I'm asking you, right?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah, well, I'll take a look at it for you, just so I understand the concept. You're behind on your second quarter taxes and you owe $5,000, then you're subject to a cap of 8%, whereas your big box company, I don't want to name any companies, and you're behind and you owe $150,000, then you just go immediately to 18%. The threshold would be $10,000 or something.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll take a look at it for you. I'll try to have an answer for you by Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brescher. Are there anybody from the council members
Yeah,
for
Council President,
Councilmember
on the same
Portillo?
topic, through Council President, this question is to our business administrator. So last time you said very confidently you said that this is a state mandate, and I repeatedly saying that, does this council has any jurisdiction? And your answer was pretty much no. You're very confident that this is the state mandate, state regulation, and this council cannot change. Good that we found a way out. Yes, this council do have
You do.
the
I admit
jurisdiction.
that, yes.
So thank you for accepting the gaps here. The second, my question is, I saw quite a few blanks on this resolution. So is this council is going to decide those slabs, those interest rates? What's the position here?
The blanks were put there so as to encourage the exact discussion we're having, just so that you can, determine what, there's certain policy reasons why you want to keep it at the maximum, and then there's policy reasons why you may want to lower it. So I think the idea was that Councilman Pointer raised it, Councilman Brescher both raised it at the last meeting. We did the research, and it can be, I just said to the council president, during the pandemic, the resolution that we had drafted set the rate at 0.0002, which is above zero. And effectively is zero, though. So you can do that, or you can do the 18. And again, there's a lot of policy reasons why you want to go to the 18. I think the administrator was referring, at least alluding to that, and I agree with that. But anywhere in between there is your call. Yeah, I mean, I would, your call in terms of consultation with the mayor as well, as to what, he believes, so.
So, but, my question here is, if we have done this in past, say last year, if it's 0.001%, first thing, do we know what's the financial impact? Have we analyzed that? If we make it 18% versus 16% versus keeping it same as 0.001%?
This is a finance issue. I'm
Question to
sorry.
the administration?
I'm not certain what your question is. Are you asking what would be the impact?
Correct.
I don't know off the top of my head. Interest on tax liens is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of revenue to the township, because keep in mind, we're on these liens and what we hold, we have to pay the school and the county all 100% of what their requirement. Obviously, as you well know, the school is the highest part of the tax bill. We have to pay that and carry that money. It's a line item in the budget reserved for uncollected taxes. So, our collection rate's pretty good, but we're carrying the county and the school board for as long as it takes. You're redeeming a couple taxes, certificates right tonight too. So we're carrying that money. I don't know what the interest is though, but you're paying millions in a budget line item to protect the financial stability of the township. You're carrying that money.
Okay, I think, I don't agree with that. We are paying millions to carry that debt. But my question is, let me ask you very straightforward. Do we know the tax delinquency in 2021, 2020, 2019? Because this is the money, if we are not able to collect, that's where it goes to the tax sale. And when it goes to the tax sale, we are recovering that money. So we are not really paying what you're talking millions of dollar interest rate on this. So my question is again twofold. How much money we are talking about like in 2021 that would impact so-called $1 million interest rate to this township?
I'd have to check. I couldn't answer that off the top of my head.
Okay, so if you don't know that, I don't know, Council President, we are talking pretty much in the air. We don't know what's our delinquencies. We don't know tax impact. And we have the resolution to discuss.
Council President, can I make a comment? I looked at the 2021 tax lien, the sales certificate that was sent out for December. So that number was 1.9 million. The total amount of line items or residencies or properties was 333. By my measure, approximately a third of that were businesses versus individuals. My question, if I can ask to our attorney, in 2020, when we had the resolution to reduce down the rate to 0.0001, effectively zero, that did not happen at the beginning of the year. So do we have the opportunity to revisit the rate if it behooves us to reduce it so that from a procedural standpoint within the township, things can move along, but we have the opportunity to revisit it to reduce it down if we so desire?
Again, I don't want to just give you a flip answer. I haven't looked at it, but my instinct is telling me yes, based on the fact that the governor raised it statewide in April, if I remember, of 20. But I'll get you the answer, let you know.
Thank you.
And just to continue that discussion, and Councilman, thank you for pointing. I had the ballpark number, but I wanted to hear that from our business administration so that, they know what we are discussing. My second question is, if you don't know the number, but, assuming it's $2 million and it was 0.001% in 2020, and it was whatever the rate we were able to get in 2021, what was that delta, or what is the additional interest, that amount that we got to this township? If it is probably $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, it's worth to keep it 0% because that's the benefit to the taxpayers.
I'll have to find out. I wouldn't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, because unless we know the impact, right? If it is a $2 million and probably good 80% people paid in first quarter or the second quarter, and the real, again, it's after tax sale, whatever it went through, the revenue that this township received, if it is in few hundreds or if it is in thousands, I don't think, we really need to raise that bar. Again, I respect our attorney to say that, the bar has been raised, but at the same time, we need to be cognizant about the pandemic, the situation, and if this is not something, the revenue source for this township, we should be very well considerate in terms of keeping that pretty much 0% tax rate. Thank you, Council President.
Council President, with the tax appeals, since the Board of Ed gets the majority of our money, and they are not subjected to tax appeals, so indirectly, the tax appeals will be set off by the money we receive, the tax appeals cut into that. Am I correct?
It depends on how the tax appeals are structured. If the tax appeal that comes in goes backwards, in other words, we have to refund to a successful somebody that's appealed their taxes and was successful for prior years, and we have to pay them a certain amount of refund, we're refunding both ours and the schools and the counties. We have to pay for that.
So we're stuck paying all that extra
Yes.
money. We have to pay it, and the rest of the people,
Yes,
they're okay with it. So that's what cuts into our taxes.
that too, yes.
Thank you.
Council President, I have E and F. I want to ask the question, but just to clarify, so there is no misunderstanding with what Council Vice President said. The tax appeal is a little different territory. What we were talking about is the people who are missing their payment because of the pandemic or because of the financial hardship. Yes, we do pay to the county and to the Board of Ed, but this money is not really paying from our pocket. We do sell these taxes, we get the money from the tax sale, and that's the revenue we collect, and we send it back to the school and the county. So there is technically no loss. But my question is on E and F. In past, we had several tax appeals. Do we know the number, how many are pending as of today? Anyone?
Bill, you might want to.
Attorney?
Want to talk about the tax appeals?
How many tax appeals are pending?
'Cause I
as of-
sat in the meetings with them.
I see the tax assessors in the back of the room. She would know. I have no idea. Do you have any idea, Joanne, how many are pending? Well, actually, I do have an idea. You sent me a, that's right. You just sent me a,
We have a list here that was sent.
okay,
It's
thank you.
four pages. I haven't totaled it up, but we have a listing.
4 pages?
Yeah, it's about 2 million. I'm seeing about 2 million. Yeah, 2.1 of exposure. That's what potentially could happen. So that's what we have right now.
Okay, so we are talking about the tax sale or tax appeal?
These are tax appeals.
Okay, the tax appeals, okay, that, I'm done with that question. I'm talking about the tax appeal, so this is just for this year we're talking about, or this is, because we have the 5 years?
Well, there's tax years all the way. I see numbers back to 2018. So some of them are longstanding.
Matt, would you mind having her come on your side and discuss that? I'd rather you go over to his microphone. That's where you two can caucus.
And again, just, before you give the update, the earlier administration has done a wonderful job of settling the taxes. And with pandemic, we don't know how many tax appeals are popping up. So just want to get the idea around that?
Oh, Councilman, first bear in mind that we are now entering the new year, which constitutes a new filing deadline. So pending in state tax court is approximately 200 appeals, 80 properties. Within those, that spans a range dating back to 2016. When I came in 2017, we were still dealing with appeals from 2010 going forward. So my understanding is, budget-wise, we have in reserves a little bit over 2 million per year. As you've seen in the past, the refunds that we request from the council has not met that earmark in quite some time. With today's market, I do not anticipate the influx of appeals that we've had in the past because the burden of proof is on the property owner. And that is the only thing I can say at this time.
Thank you for your information.
Thank you.
And if you need anything from the council, please, we are here, the entire council will cooperate so we can settle these tax appeals as quick as we can. Again, thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Council President?
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Brusher?
Yes, I didn't realize that John was here, but I have a question. With B,
Joanne, do you want to come back up? I'm sorry.
B. In B, I received a spreadsheet, right? And I believe that was people that bought like delinquent taxes. And there was, let's say, $1,000, and then there was a premium, let's say $10,000, and then a line item for a total of 11. Could you just tell me what each one of those columns?
Councilman, that would be better answered by our collector, Lena
Lena?
Okay. Vallejo, but
No, I can do it. I thought that was I'm trying to figure out what each one of the columns, like the premium, I was trying to figure out.
premium is what the tax, at the tax sale, it starts off at the 18%, works its way down to 0, and then they start paying a premium to the township in order to get that tax sale. And so that would be what's indicated on the column.
So, right, so like that $1,000 would be like the $1,000 I didn't pay in my taxes. And then that entity is going to give the township a premium of $10,000
To get hold of that lien.
to buy my $1,000 lien.
Yes?
And then how does he recoup that? When he goes to, when I go to clear up my taxes, my $1,000, I have to pay the 18% plus the $10,000 premium?
That's a private sale situation. But I would assume so. I'm assuming they're going to want that 11,000 back from the lien.
Right, I mean,
from the property owner, so that's between them.
Okay, and then who authorizes that? Because when I seen the 18% in this ordinance, I understood that. But when I see that they paid the premium, I didn't see a premium listed in this here.
That's because it's negotiated at the time. It's an auction, so.
So technically, they could pay more than the 18% at the end of the day,
Sure.
right? You can go at
Want it,
0% and a
Free
$20,000.
market, baby, it's great.
Okay, right. I'll try Lena because I'm just trying to understand this whole process here myself. You guys haven't filed a tax lien on me yet, so I haven't went through the process. So I'm trying to understand it. Thank you.
Is there any other discussions from the council members from the Department of Finance, A through F? Seeing none, we'll move to 11 from the Department of Law, A. Any council members for discussion?
Councilman,
Yes, Councilman.
this has
Trujillo?
been our, probably this has come in front of the council multiple times, and we always had asked that question. Is This is the roadway dedication, right? You know, if attorney can shed some light,
I'll let the engineer shed some light.
or engineer.
All I do with this is draft it. This is a recommendation from the engineering department.
Yes, so this is a road, it's a part of a subdivision. I think there's 3 or 4 houses on this, so it's a little cul-de-sac. The developer paved the road. The roadway is failing, the surface isn't acceptable to us, so we're not accepting it. This agreement basically forfeits his cash bond so that we can pave the road and accept it now.
Yeah, in fact, this is a very sticky issue, and again, we know the kitchen court issue, we discussed, residents were here probably a dozen times, and we have many roads in the township which the township has not agreed to take over, in spite it has been probably 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, and I can name the roads. And attorney is well aware of, you know, a couple of those situations at least. Westgate is one, there is another one, the Inman Avenue, there is a town hall property next to the golf course there. But is this something that, yes, you know, the amount, the bond that is paid is good enough for us to pave the road, right?
Yes.
But we are not penalizing the developer at all. We are giving him free ride, only just taking his money, doing
Taking
his
his
work.
money. Yeah, that's the idea. There's money here, and that's, we're grabbing his money. The ones that you're talking about, and that's, we can debate that. It was a policy issue. For whatever reason, the money was given back or was never there in the first place for those folks back then. So that's what caused that problem. Here, and that's the engineer and I had several conversations to be sure that there was sufficient money so that this was not going to be a taxpayer issue. This would just be an issue for, you know, developer is giving up this money. So he's paying for it, he's just not paying for it out of his pocket. He's paying for it out of a bond he's not getting back.
Understood. You know, again, I'm not debating on there is enough money. Say, hypothetically, if there is $50,000, it costs us, say, $40,000 or $45,000 to pave the road. So we have the money, we can do the work.
Yeah,
But just remember that we are doing the work on somebody's behalf.
Yes, we're going to do the work on their behalf. We're going to use our road program when we do our road projects. We'll just include this street as one of our projects now.
Understood. If I'm a businessman and if I know that if I have $10,000 in my escrow or in bond and it's going to cost me $10,000, I'll give it to the township and let township take care of that. My question here is, why would township do? Because I'm getting out of that headache. You know, you pay it, you get it approval, so you do it. So what is the incentive for the town other than getting the bond money?
The
Are we
incentive would
making the
be
money out of this?
We would get a better product. The developer that paves the road is hiring a smaller contractor, pretty much the size of this road, he's going to get like a driveway contractor to pave it, and it's not going to come out that good. As opposed to us, we're going to use a contractor that has better equipment, basically, to provide a better product at the end of the day.
Okay, so so what you are implying that anyone who is paving the road, the private developers, they are not doing the good job, but yet we are giving them NOC or we are giving them the certificate of clearance for their properties.
They have not gotten their final CO yet.
No, I'm talking about the rest of the developers in the town. If we are saying that we are better one compared to what developer is doing, my question is why we are not, we can do it what we need to do it, but why we are not penalizing the developer? We don't want this to be set as a practice going forward.
That's the bond we're taking. That's the penalty. He's losing out on that bond.
Yeah, but
So
we
he
are
may be
using
able to
that
pave-
bond money to pave the road.
He may be able to pave the road for less money. So the penalty he's facing, rather than him paving the road maybe for $20,000, we're going to take his bond and pave it for, I think it's $24,000. So he's going to get a penalty of not being able to, having the opportunity to pave it at his own cost.
Okay.
He's
And
going to pave it
just-
at our cost now.
And the other issue is forcing him to do that. So we, you know, the choice is we could say, okay, we're not going to take your bond, you fix the road. And then he says, okay, yeah, I'll see you later. And then, you know, you get the phone calls from residents saying, why isn't my road fixed? And the answer is because we refuse, so now we're going to go out and sue him to get it done. It's a policy call. And again, that's why it's here for you to vote on. If you want to take that course, you certainly can take that course. The administration, you know, myself, and this probably has been around since Mayor Lanke was here, and he was in the same agreement, is that this fixes the roads for the residents, doesn't cost the town any money, And if it winds up being an incremental benefit to the developer, balancing everything, that's the policy call. But we don't make policy. The engineer doesn't make policy. I don't make policy. You make policy. If you disagree with it, then we can vote it down. We'll, bring litigation. We'll do whatever we have to. But it's, in part, the residents are going to suffer until the road is fixed.
No, I would disagree with that unless engineering department has provided the CO to all those houses without probably doing the full-blown project approval.
The final CO hasn't been granted on all the houses.
Here you go. How will the residents will come to this council and ask for the help? If CO is not what the issue you're talking about, kitchen court, was the township issued the CO, the houses were occupied by the residents, and the developer went bankrupt. That's where the problem happened. Here, there is no CO to any house, so these houses are not occupied, so there is no reason for us to go and fix the road on somebody's behalf, so this builder can get the CO for all these houses.
There's a temporary CO, so the houses are occupied right now. There's a temporary CO which is expiring.
Again, this is something we should not have done it, unless the main road was fixed. We should not have given the TCO at all.
The surface of the road started failing after the TCOs were granted. There was other site items that were being finalized, punch list type items that were being finalized. The road surface started wearing after the temporary COs were issued.
Maybe, we might have to come up with the policy, this council have to come up with a policy that no TCO will be given unless the entire project is in good order.
Councilman Patil, I think that's a good idea, and it certainly needs to be reviewed. To the engineer, question, did you include enough money to cover the gap of him doing the job or you doing the job?
Yes, the money we're
So
taking
are
is for us to
are
do
we
the job.
losing money on this project?
We're not losing any money on this project.
Okay, all right, that's because Councilman Patil brought up a good point. If we're going to be doing their work, is one thing, but if we're doing the work plus it's going to cost us additional administration, then that's a problem. So you're telling us that the cost is already built into the bond?
Correct.
I mean, there's also the cost of time. See, if you're fixing this road, you're not fixing another road for the township.
Yep.
So my question to you is, you said that, we're going to do a better job. Is there a specific standard that they have to meet? Or is this something we're going above and beyond?
What I mean by that is we have the control of the contractors when we do this. When we hire our own contractors, we have better control and oversight over what they do.
Okay.
So we're able to control the product a lot better.
And now, would this contractor be punished in the future if he wants to get another potential?
No, it's a private contractor that did the work. There's no real mechanism for us to punish contractors, private contractors.
Okay,
It's
my
based on the
question
developer.
being specifically, would we increase the bond that they would have to give?
No, the bonds are all based on the municipal land use laws.
Thank you.
Council President, can I ask you a question? to
Sure,
the
Councilman
engineer?
Porter.
Prior to this, that road is a private road? Or is
Yes,
it?
it's a private road, part of a subdivision, and part of that, once everything is finalized, they dedicate the road to the municipality to
So then after, presuming if this were to go through, then that is officially a township road, not a private road?
Yes, once this goes through, once we accept the bond, we pave it, and then we accept the road.
Does that offer any benefits to the township with it being township-owned versus privately owned?
It's just part of the agreement when the subdivision was approved.
Thank you.
Council President?
One more question. What happens to the TCOs if this doesn't get fixed in time?
If the TCOs aren't renewed, the owner would be given a fine, basically, based on the DCA regulations for occupying a building without a TCO.
Okay. So if we don't fix the road in time, he will be fined for it?
He could possibly be fined, yeah, that goes through the
Well,
building
let's be
department.
clear. Who's being fined there? Is it the residents that live in those
It's
houses?
who's ever the property owner
Just
is.
to be
is the
clear, you're
resident.
gonna punish the residents
Okay, that's,
for the failures of the developer.
Council President?
Yeah, sure, Councilman Brescher.
Kevin, could we get a list of the square footage that you have for this road that needs to be milled and paved, I guess? And can you give us 3 examples of similar size areas that you paid to have milled and paved? Because I'll tell you what is a little, what doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I did work, union work and non-union work. Any work that you're going to do is prevailing wage or union. any work that that guy's doing is non-union. So you're looking at like a 30% cost difference, let's say. So why in his right mind would he want to give up 30% more to the township to do something that he could do for 30% less? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, unless he was going bankrupt or something. You know what I mean?
Your last comment, I think, is part of the reason, but a lot of the cost for paving is built in the actual material cost from the plants. It's the actual cost of tonnage for the asphalt. And historically, based on the last couple of years, the pricing for us that we've been getting with our contractors when we put things out to bid for this is a lot lower because we do it in such large quantities.
Okay, and that's where I'm going. I mean, I think if you showed us, you know, that there's X amount of square feet and this is what we pay and this is how much money we have, maybe we'd feel a little bit more comfortable.
Sure.
Just to the engineer, and I support what I'm hearing from Councilman Brescher and Patil, but the issue I got is, you know, we've done a lot of jobs like this in the past. What is the timeline? And knowing that the residents are at risk, knowing that the bond is already included, knowing that this is already something that you would assume it's part of the process, it's part of the building development code, you know, this is where we step in because there's an issue, and we don't know the whole issue. There's reason. If we do hold this up or moved on it today, what is your timeline? Does it interrupt your flow of paving? You know, when did you anticipate having it done if we pass this tonight? Tell me on Wednesday.
It depends on the weather. If it's warm enough out in February, we can pave. If not, then it'll be a springtime project.
Does it affect you whether we do it this week, this council meeting or the following council meeting?
No.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from those items we just discussed?
Yeah, Council President, thank you for clarifying that this is not an emergency, but, I would still like to get the numbers, what's the bond amount is, what's our cost, 2022 cost for paving, because we don't know yet because it's not out for bid, but still approximate cost. And if there is any supporting document matter, what Councilman Brescher alluded to, that it could be heading to the bankruptcy or anything that this council can consider. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Patil. Moving on to the Department of Law, Department of Planning and Engineering, A through J. Any comments from the council members?
Council President?
Councilman Brescher?
Yes, I have a question on I. I guess we're going to refund engineering fees for the Kilmer area. And my question about that is, we did or I guess we're still working on it, but there was a Kaplan development over in Clara Barton where at the end of the day, they didn't do the plantings, let's say, correctly. And Hank went out and made a list of that, but then engineering is going to have to go out and verify or negotiate, or so your firm is going to have to spend time on it. And I don't know that we still have, this engineering fees that you could still bill in Kaplan. So my concern is before we're done, and we close out where you can't bill anymore, are we at that point?
Yes, this would release all their fees. The only thing we would still hold on them would be a maintenance bond at this point.
So all of their plantings, everything's been approved, signed off, and checked and verified, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the council members?
Council President?
Yes.
There is one resolution, this L, resolution residing, which was adopted June 14th, 2021. Attorney, do we have any details of this?
That one was for the prior resolutions for Camp Kilmer. There was an amount that was incorrect that was released initially. That's just rescinding that amount. I think a decimal point was misplaced on one of that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
this just corrects what was released earlier.
Thank you for clarification.
Any other questions from the council members? Seeing none, moving on to 13, Department of Recreation. Any questions to line item A? Seeing no questions, moving on to 14 from the Department of Water and Sewer, A, B, and C. Any questions from council members?
Council President.
Councilman Porter.
In the supporting documents, it stated that the township owed, and I'm not going to get the terminology right, but a certain list by the 21st, I think, for the lines. Considering that we're past that, are we subject to any repercussions or penalties?
I don't believe we will be. We're close enough.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Brescher.
Yes, I'd like to request, and I'll give him back, but the Evergreen Pump Station, we have drawings on that? Okay, do you think, who did that engineering for that, or who did that? On the upgrades? Well, right, what I'm looking for is we had
We need-
some kind of
thank you.
drawing that they're
Thank you,
working
Mr.
from,
Smith.
correct?
Looking for the initial pump
going with
station
B.
drawings?
Well, not the original ones, but we went to do work on it, and we hired an engineer to do work, right?
Yes.
Okay. He therefore has to make a drawing. He just doesn't go, hey, Bob, put another pump in.
That was Mont McDonald, and I'll see what they have.
Right. Now, so they have drawings. I'd like to see those drawings.
Okay.
And then after I get to review it, I'd like you just to spend a little bit of time with me to explain the change orders. I just want to see that the change orders weren't in the original drawings, right? And maybe they should have been. I don't know that they should have been, but if I look at it and you give me an explanation, maybe it should have been in the original drawings. Maybe not. And that's a process I'd just like to review with you, if you
Okay.
could. But I got to get the drawings to look at them first.
All right, the
That's all.
change order actually, B, was they had to rotate a pump assembly because the valve wouldn't fit properly.
I understand it, and that's where I go. When you talk about a design fee,
Right.
I'm paying an engineer or an architect a design fee. It's their job to know the size, to make sure that it does fit. If it doesn't fit, then it's what we call like be a claim against their professional insurance in a way, which I know that they do have. So now you understand where I'm looking at this, right?
Oh, I'm in agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes,
So I'll
Councilman.
see if, Bob, you can stay there. Do you know how old is this roof?
I can't tell you the exact date that station was put in, but the roof needs to be replaced. We have work going on by Longo Electric right now that requires mounted equipment on and through the roof, and they refuse to go on the roof. It's in such bad shape. We also have tarps set up inside the building to try to deflect the water that's leaking through the roof away from the control panels. It needs to be replaced. It's in really sad shape. The fascia is coming off. It's outlived its life expectancy.
No, I'm in fully support of, changing the roof. It's a good thing that, we are upgrading the infrastructure as the time goes. But if you can prepare some sort of a list of all the pump stations, wherever, I would say the cosmetic, I'm not talking about now engineering or any of those things, but this is also important that we protect our equipment inside, right? So any of those pump stations, around town that we use, if they need this type of things, so rather than approving one off, if we can do it 2, 3, 4 at the same time, we might get better pricing.
We tried that in the past. We haven't had much luck. We got to the point, we're doing this through, I think, the North Jersey Co-op. We need to get this roof fixed like as quick as possible. It's going to slow us down with the cold weather. We have had companies come in and try to give us
No, you don't need to
pricing for
defend.
all the roofs.
You don't
We-
need to
we have
defend.
many
I'm going
roofs
to
that need to be
support this.
replaced.
You don't need to defend. We need it. I understand that. What I'm saying is, in addition to this, if we have any other pump station that needs similar.
We do, and we've gone down that path, and we've had no luck.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
Any other questions from 14, Department of Water and Sewer? Seeing none from the council members, moving to 15 from the chief of the fire. letter A.
Council President,
Sorry, Matt.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
if I can just go back to the subject matter, I think Councilman Brescher brought up the point about the engineer not, are we going to go back on the engineer? The answer is we intend fully to go back on the engineer and make him pay for this mistake. That is something that we've already talked about and we plan to do. But in the meantime, we're asking for this approval for the change order so that we can continue with construction. But we intend to go back at him.
All right, no, I looked at it, it seemed odd. I suspected something. Since you're telling me that you're working on this?
Yes.
And that's the direction you're working on?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem. And I do understand the change order would be necessary still, so
Right.
I don't have a problem with that.
But we intend to go back to the engineer and say,
Okay.
and
Yes.
discuss it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Again, 15, going from the chief of fire, letter A, approval of volunteer firefighter. Any questions? Seeing no questions from council members, moving to 16 from the chief of police, A. Any questions from the council members? 17 from the township clerk, A, B, and C. Any questions from council members? Seeing none. 18 from the council members of the planning board, which we do not have today. We're skipping that. Discussion items from my right. Let's go from our left. Councilman Porter,
None at this time.
this time. Councilman Patil.
Thank you, Council President. I'm bringing back the question that we discussed during the last council meeting, the health notice. Did we get a chance to send not the notice, but the township position to the superintendent from the mayor's office as well as from our health director? There were several emails that we received and we discussed, there were some few residents here, they complained about the COVID impact on the school system. And I asked that if we can clear up our position that we are not the ultimate authority to decide whether school can be remote, hybrid, or in session or something. This is the matter that lies with the school board, and we need to clear up our position. So we kind of agreed that this township will send some sort of a letter to the superintendent that we are not the authority. He needs to reach out to the county health director. In fact, when we said that we'll put this on the website, but anyway, Jay. If we missed it, that's perfectly fine, but we can always correct.
Councilman, just to clarify, it was not so much the county health director or whatever, what we discussed at the last meeting is the authority doesn't rest with either one of us. Effectively there, and they answer to the State Board of Education. There is a county liaison, but effectively the State Board of Education and to the State Health Department that provides the guidance, to them. So we provide guidance. We don't effectively, whether it be the county or otherwise, we don't shut down schools. We provide guidance to them when classrooms have needed to be shut down. We provide the guidance that may result in classrooms being shut down or childcare being shut down if it fits a certain criteria that established by the State Health Department or Division of Children and Families. So again, that's what we tried to clarify to the residents. Each one that reached out to us is that we provide guidance. Right. We are not the authority. The county is not the authority either.
True, but what I'm saying is, did we send some sort of a notification to the superintendent? Any guidance or anything on this matter?
We provide, again to clarify, fortunately, knock on wood, for the past week or so, we haven't had to, but we provide interaction and guidance to them on a daily basis. And I did mention that the assistant superintendent, Mr. Aldarelli, we speak on the phone, text, otherwise 7 days a week when it was necessary, when positive cases arise, either in faculty or in students. We went all the way through dances, athletic activities, conferred as they started to kind of reopen up as to provide that guidance. We do that on a regular basis. But again, if you, all the guidance you see on the State Health Department website, okay, if you go to the COVID-19 website, it basically directs them that they need to seek guidance, but it doesn't put us in an authority. The authority was issued by the executive orders or by the commissioner, as to what they did not empower us to go and shut down schools. Restaurants, things like that early on in the pandemic, restaurants that were open, that were not doing, when indoor dining was prohibited, we had certain regulatory authorities, and we did take people to court when necessary, a different executive order, but all throughout the schools, it was to provide guidance.
So as long as we are providing the guidance and the residents don't send email to the council, because as I said, like, they should not hit the dead end that we have no jurisdiction, we have no knowledge, we can't respond to their emails because, again, we are not the subject matter experts or we are not the authority. So it's better to give those people that guideline saying, reaching out to this council is pretty much of no use.
And majority of them, a number of us on there, and I spoke with literally dozens of residents, to explain much what we did here as to what the system is, and the fact that the superintendent, in my opinion, was not being flip about this. They were working off the positivity rate, as we were saying before, which was actually very good. But effectively, I have answered them, I'll say on behalf of the township, to let them know, just as we laid out before, as to where the authority lies and what our role is, with this, either being a council or a local health department or a county health department.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Council President.
No, thank you, Councilman Patil. Next council member, Nish Patel. Anything?
Not at this time.
Okay. Council Vice President Joyce Ship Freeman.
As I went to the Board of Ed meeting, and I thank the Board of Ed for keeping our schools open, because as an educator, I know that the depression that has set in for a lot of our children, and a lot of people have undiagnosed mental illness, and people don't understand the separation. Some kids need socialization more than others, and I know you got to go by all the rules, and you have to wear masks and stuff, but sometimes just for students being in school and connecting with other people gives them a better outlet than staying at home talking to a box all day long. That's what I'm going to say about that. And as I also discussed, because I had like 4 other places I was invited to on Saturday, but I thought it would be important for me, for the kids of Edison and the parents of Edison, to attend the Martin Luther King Day program. And as I stated earlier last week, and I spoke to them, that I am very, very happy to be a product of the Edison school system, because our children super impressed me. As I walked around, as I read their poetry, as I read their essays, and as I conversed with them, these children of our future, we're in good hands. And I thanked over and over again, I thank the educators at the school and everybody who participated in getting these children to where they're at. Through the pandemic and everything, our students still really reign high, and I'm very proud of that. I also want to talk about the Human Relations Committee, and I wanted to tell the people, some people are saying that, that it is abandoned. No, it's up to the people that have been assigned, because they only can be assigned by the mayor. And you can go ask the clerk. The council has nothing to do with it. The mayor assigns people. So if you would like people to be on it, it would be good. And if you are to reach a quorum, that's when I can step in and ask the state to come out and train people. It's not that sending them back and forth. You have at least to have, if the committee consists of 15, you have to have at least 10 people for the state or the county to come out to train people to properly be on the Human Relations Committee. So I want people to know that I never abandon anything that I start. And when I started from the beginning, I wanted to be done properly, not something willy-nilly hanging all over the place. I want all the pieces to be in the right place. And also, we have reading coming up in March. And I've already been invited, and I think it would be good that most of the time you don't have to go into the school, but if you connect up with the school on Google Meet, I think it's outstanding for the students of our school, of our diverse, inclusive school, to see all the different people, to talk to them and read books to them. And also, going to the multicultural affair on Friday. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I met people, I mean, Edison High, you can't get any more diverse than that. That's like the Middlesex County, that school is so diverse. And I had the opportunity to speak to all of the students there that participated in the program. You had immigrants, you had South Asians, you had Africans. You just named the group of people and you had them there. It was such a great experience, and especially talking to young people with bright ideas and moving toward the future that, we need to like grasp that and go there. We don't need to go backwards. We need to grasp onto what these kids, some of this stuff might not be all that, but you know one thing? If we can guide them along with their ideas, I think we can be a better Edison. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Harris?
Thank you, Council President. First, actually, I want to thank Councilwoman Ship Freeman for her initial comments about keeping the schools open and specifically the impact on mental health of the children. The 2021 was essentially a lost educational year for children. And it was so difficult for the parents, it was difficult for the children, their attention spans were just not there. And the depression, you're absolutely right, Councilwoman, the depression was monumental. The fact that they could not socialize with their friends was really a very difficult challenge for them. So I thank you for your comments on that. I also wanted to circle back to what I had brought up at the last meeting, which was about exploring the possibility of having the streaming service for these meetings allow the people who are streaming to be able to participate. And I understand that there are glitches, there are possible difficulties and challenges that come along with that. But I'd gotten some feedback from people after that meeting saying they really, really wanted that. And so I just wanted to put that out there again and find out what needs to be done in order to start this process. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Brusher.
I have just two items. One is, for the record, the Metuchen Pump Station. Before we get into, and we spoke about this, but just for the record, before we get into paying for this or anything or moving in a forward direction, if you could give me a promise that we will work out the maintenance of this and try and work something out with them. Anybody that's heard me for the last couple of years knows that I think we got a bad end of the stick on that one. So moving forward, I'd like to move the stick a little forward.
Agree.
The other is I'd like to propose that we put up the ward system up for a vote to put on our agenda for us to vote, have a vote on and discussion on. And this would be not for us to decide, but this would be for the public to decide. So it would end up being a vote that would come and the public can vote on it, whether it's good, it's bad, and those discussions would take place over the next couple months to inform the public so they can make an educated decision themselves. So I'd like to see if I can get a second to put this up.
What was the question, Councilman?
I'm looking for a second to put up the ward system.
This tonight on the agenda?
What's that? To add it to the agenda, yes.
I will second it unless the council member have looked at it and they feel it's okay, but we can always revise based on, the discussions or anything that would happen on the line.
Correct.
I did second it.
Yeah.
That's, I think what the councilman, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're asking is,
Yes.
yeah, you're making a motion to add item to the agenda for Wednesday.
And AJ seconded,
Correct.
right?
Was that a second? So then you have a motion and a second to add the adoption of award system. The ordinance has already been drafted. I believe it was circulated when we met at the reorganization meeting. I sent it around to everyone. I think everyone actually confirmed receipt. So I assume that's the ordinance you're referring to.
Yes, that's
Was
it.
previously, okay.
Yeah, just want to make it clear that if any council member would like to make any changes, amendment, we should be willing and open to discuss those ideas. This is not set in stone, right?
That's true. I mean, you know.
Just wanted to make it clear.
Yeah, there's a reason why we talked about this, 9-member type thing, as opposed to a 7-member. And those are open to discussion, really, yes.
Okay.
So a motion from Councilman Brescher.
Hold on one second. Can I ask a question? Can the amount of money that it would cost for us extra and all that stuff be put up first before we make any type of vote on it? Could you bring me the other information?
When you say additional cost, you have additional 2 council people, and at $12,000 a year, it's $24,000 a year. I think we saved that in just a couple of the copy machines that we reduced the reduction.
No. I'm just saying that, that I think it should have more discussion before we move to it. I think we should have more discussion on how it would affect and what would be done and how the town would be divided up. I think all that stuff needs to be shown.
Well, that's part of the problem that people don't seem to understand, right? All of that, you have no say in. Not one person on this council has say in this. This is all derived by statute. All
So
that
it takes
we
it out
can-
of our hands.
Yes, all that we have is we have the ability to put this up for a vote for the people to decide. We can't even decide it. All we're doing is we're putting it up for the people to decide.
And if we don't put this up, what happens?
Well, we remain the same way we are right now.
No, I'm just saying, no, that's not true. You have to go out and you have to get signatures, and you go throughout the town and you explain to people what you're moving forward on. That would be the move. If the council didn't put it up, you would have to go throughout the town, like we did for water, and you would have to explain every detail of this, which means that as a council person, you better know every single detail of this in order for you to go knock on somebody's door.
Yep, understood. That's where Vice President, I said that we should be open to discuss, take the inputs from the entire council. If the council is comfortable, what way to go?
No, I'm just saying that in order for you to knock on doors and you tell people and you explain all this stuff to them, you better have some knowledge of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
That not just walking around and just saying, oh, I just said yes, but I don't know.
Right.
Well, Council Vice President, I can definitely assure you that when we did the Suez thing, there was 2,000 documents, I believe, that I reviewed in Cheryl's office before they were available to anybody in the public. There was so much financial stuff in there, and the amount of hours that it took me to decipher that, to then go out there and explain it to a bunch of people that went out there and signed that petition. This here is so simple.
In your opinion?
No, not in my opinion. We can ask our attorney. We don't really have a lot of choices with it. There's 2 choices really on size, whether you want 7 or 9. And then as far as the date would be something we could decide. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is the public's going to go out. They're going to get it because we're against it. And they're going to pick the date. And they might pick a special election, which might cost us $100,000 to do. So if we do it, we can set the date during a regular election. We have the ability to have control. Once the public goes out, you lose all ability to control anything at that point.
Well, I think that since we do have an election coming up this November quite shortly, in the amount of months, they won't be able to charge us no extra $100,000 because in a matter of months, we have another election coming up.
Cheryl, if we go out and we get signatures, Are we allowed to have a special election at any of these special election dates throughout the year? If we do it by petition?
Dates would come from the Board of Elections when the special.
Right, but I'm saying if the petitioners do this, Bill.
I was waiting till somebody asked me a question before I volunteered an answer. The answer is if it goes to a referendum, if they gather more than 10%, it goes on the general election ballot. If they gather more than 15%, then they can ask for a special election. And I'd have to look at it, Councilman. I think the date,
September.
yeah, I think the date may be, yeah, there's parameters as to can't be sooner than and can't be later than, and
Yes, but
there's a formula. But I think it's like it can't be sooner than 45 days and can't be later than
Okay, so
60 or 75 days from.
Let me be honest. I'll be honest with my vice council
You
president.
be honest.
I'm going to be honest with you. So I looked into it, and if the council doesn't approve it, then we're going to be looking to do a special election, and it is actually.
But you gotta have to get more than 10%, right?
10% of 20,000 votes is 2,000 votes.
15%.
Right.
You gotta
Get
get
especially
15% for
over
a special
15.
election.
15 or more.
15% would be 3,000 votes. I think Suez, they did 5,000, and they did that in a matter of 2 months. Right. So we have more than the 2 months to do it. So for us to get 3,000 votes or 3,500, to be quite honest with you, is very simple. In my mind, I believe I can do it.
Councilman,
To be quite honest with you guys, I would rather for the public to decide. I would like the public to decide, because some other things that we decided on, I thought the public should have decided on too. So I'm for public people to decide. You know, I don't know that we should make a lot of decisions that we make for a whole lot of people. I think that if the public, me, myself, I'll go along with what the public wants.
That's what we were going to do here with this, was going to go up for a vote for the public to decide. We weren't going to decide it. It's going to be decided by the public.
I want the
This is
public.
just going to ask the public to go out there and walk and get the 3,000 signatures because we didn't want to do it. That's the only thing we're doing. And then the public's going to decide when that's going to be. So the council has no authority over it at that point. But that's where I'm going. I'm looking to put it up
Councilmember Brescher.
for the public.
I just wanted to make a comment as well. I'm not new to you discussing this, but I'm new to you putting it up, without me putting it on the agenda. The second thing, and you're able to do that, any council member can do this. The problem I have is that most of this comes from residents who are not happy with their particular area, of their territory, their neighborhood, and I believe that's soon to change, what quality of life they have in their community. Mayor Sam Josh's first month in office, and we're looking at trying to change from a at-large council membership to a board system. And, I commend your interest to do this. It's been done, I think 10 years ago or so in the past. But I'm open to give Mayor Sam Joshi a chance to see what he can do over the next 4 months. And there's opportunity for this. I'm just not prepared to put this on the agenda today, so I'll be voting no.
No, listen, every council member is entitled to vote however they want. I have many hopes for our mayor, Sam Joshi. Many hopes. Do I believe that he's going to be able to fix everything? That he's going to be able to fix the overdevelopment in every area of the town? I'll tell you what, by seeing who was recommended for the zoning board, right, where we're putting realtors and developers back on, I'm sorry, Council President, I disagree with you. When I look at the planning board members, where I'm looking at
Can we
the
just stick,
same
Council,
President,
can we just stick to this
I'm
one
talking,
subject?
please.
Just
Wait,
stick to
no,
this.
We are, and what I'm
How are
doing
we-
is, I'm
okay.
sticking to it. And what I'm saying is, for me to believe that we're putting the same people on the same boards, and we're going to change something, I disagree. So, right, you have that faith, and you can vote no.
Councilman, can we cut short? I think it's better to have our attorney explain what this ordinance is about, what the process is, what's in council's hand, what is not in council's hand, what happens it gets defeated, what happens if people do it. It's more an educational rather than we debating ourselves. That would really help in the sense that, what we are asking this ordinance is we are not saying, do the ward system tomorrow. What we are saying is send this question to the ballot in the month of November so people can decide if they would like to have the ward system in the township. It's that plain and simple, right? So if attorney, again, I understand that there will be questions saying, how we're going to make these wards. Again, if attorney is willing to give that explanation, it is not us, it's not our jurisdiction. If we can run through that process, would really help this council to pretty much understand what this all is about.
The ordinance that we drafted at Councilman Brescher's request, going back probably more than a year now, right,
Yeah,
Councilman?
it's been
Something like that.
over a year.
Basically, there's the statute is complicated. The idea is fairly simple, but the statute's pretty complicated. But basically what it does is if you adopt this ordinance, you will be putting a question on the ballot in November that says, should Edison have, I believe it is 5 ward council people and 4 at large, instead of the current system, which is 7 at large. In 2019, 4 of you were on the ballot, correct? There's 4 council people were on the ballot, correct?
Yes.
You? Yeah. So the way it would roll out would be, the election would be in 2022. In 2023, there would be the 4, I'd have to pull it again. I'm talking from memory now, but I believe the 4 at large would run for a 4-year term, and if it was a 5 council member, then the 5 ward people would run, and that would only be for a 2-year term. Then the ward people would run again in 2025 when the mayor is up. So you'd have a mayor, I'm sorry, I may have it maybe 5 at large and 4 wards, whatever. But basically the at larges run the way you do now. The 4 runs without the mayor, and then 5 would run with the mayor in 2025, and then that would be for the full term.
So
That
you
would
would
be-
lose 2 years.
No, nobody loses any time.
Nobody loses time?
No. So your term would be up, Councilwoman. You would run for reelection in 2023, and you would run at that point for a 4-year term. Mr. Smith and Ms. Jones, who are running for the ward seats, would run in 2023 for a 2-year term, and then they would run again 2 years later with the mayor for a 4-year term.
Council, then what happens to those of us that would be running again in 2025?
You would run for either you would run for the 4-year term, and that would be at large. That would be as ward people, or you could choose to run in 2023 at large. So you would finish your term. You were elected in 21. You would finish your term in 25, and then the seat. There would be 2 additional seats, and the seat you're in would convert to a ward seat as opposed to an at-large seat.
So those of us up in 2025, someone might lose their 4-year
No.
term?
No.
No?
You're elected in 21. You're going to serve
Yeah.
till 2025.
Yeah. But
Then
in
in
2025,
2025, you run for reelection to a 4-year term, but instead of running at large, you would run for a ward seat.
and that's a 2-year term?
No,
according-
there'd be the only reason you do a 2-year term is just to match up the cycles. It's just 1 2-year term. And then from there on out, and this is assuming that this gets adopted, from there on out, after 2025, everyone's running for 4-year terms.
So wait, can I just finish up? So would those of us running again in 2025, even if we didn't want to be running for a ward seat and we wanted to run for an at-large seat, would we not have a choice?
You would have, if you want to run for an at-large seat, assuming this was successful, and I may have this just inverted, but it's right one way or the other, but if you want to run for an at-large seat, you could run in 2023. You could be a sitting council person and run for another position. Then you would vacate your your existing seat, and then you would pick up the at-large seat. And then you would run again in 2027. You would change basically the cycle when you're running. Instead of running with the mayor, you'd run on the off year, the midterm.
Yeah, that's kind of problematic and confusing. All right, thank you.
Oh, try writing the ordinance. That was really confusing.
Council President?
Councilman Porter?
Council President, the only other
Councilman
thing
Porter,
is
just-
that if you were both running in the same, if you happen to be
Please speak to the mic.
in the same ward, when you went to run, then that you would cancel out each other.
You'd be running against each other.
You were running against each other in that
Yep.
ward.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Well, remember, you'd have to set up the wards first. Part of the problem would be setting up the wards. You'd have to break the town up into wards as well.
Councilman
Attorney,
Porter?
that's not the township does it, it's outside.
It's ward commissioners, which I
Correct,
believe are the 4 or now 6 Board of Elections Commissioner and the clerk would be the ward commissioner. Jersey City just finished theirs yesterday, I believe.
Councilmember Porter?
Yes, thank you. I did read the state statute. My understanding of what the state statute is and how this ordinance is drafted is that all 9 or all would be up for election next year.
You're in 20, that's it. In 2023, all 9 would run, 4 would run for a 2-year
For
term.
the 2-year.
And then,
Right, I-
right, that's it, Councilman, thank you. I was doing it from memory.
Thank you, John.
The question, I still have questions in regards to the drafting of the wards. Not necessarily whose responsibility it would be, but right now we have 78 districts, in which case now yes, you can go voter registration and populate out each district, but my questions are like, do they have to be within the bounds of the current districts? Do the ward systems get updated from a periodic standpoint? What those periods are? It was mentioned that certain demographics may need to be met, but I wasn't given any specifics. Now, I know it was mentioned that population was the overriding item on it, which I understand that, but I don't know if there are any other
There's basically,
guidelines.
I can answer most of it, though the districts need to be compact, they need to be contiguous. They would, I don't think there's anything statutorily that says it has to be, you can't split precincts, election districts, but there would be no reason why you would want to do that. And actually, there may be something statutorily, I haven't drilled that deep into it. And you can't have a greater population deviance of more than, I believe it's 5, it might be 10, but I thought it was 5%, which gives you either a 2.5 or a 5% swing either way.
Either way.
So if the ideal population is 10,000, and it's the 5% deviance, then it's 12.5 or 7,500 is the greatest it can be. In terms of packing districts, I mean, think about gerrymandering, across the country, congressional, legislative. The idea would be diversity would be a good idea, but you don't want to dilute people's voting rights either. You don't want to spread a population across 16 different districts so that population can never elect somebody. And conversely, you don't want to put everyone in one district so that you limit populations to only having influence in one district. But that candidly would be a function of the ward commissioners in the first instance, and unless you could show that they did that for a reason, like, you've seen some of the redistricting cases out of North Carolina or Texas, then you can do that. But for the most part, it's going to be driven, population's going to drive most of it. And if there's a question, then maybe you can look at race or something.
Yeah, so that, I'm not suggesting that anything would be gerrymandered. I would certainly hope not. Say, as an example, on the north side, District 1, the line was drawn midway through that district, right? When it comes to the committee seats for each respective party within the nominations, I guess that's where my question comes from.
It wouldn't be drawn through a district. There'd be no reason to draw it through a district. You couldn't take If,
I guess if it's the 5% population
but
base,
you'd adjust it by dropping districts in and out. You wouldn't adjust it by putting half of District 1 in Ward 1 and half of District 1 in Ward 2.
Yeah, I guess
You would
that's
put
my
all of
question. I
District
didn't know
1
if,
in Ward 1, and if there was a population deviation, then you deal with that by finding a district that's smaller or larger so you can balance it while still maintaining the contiguity part of the equation. It is difficult to talk about. Try drawing it.
Yeah, I will admit I have some reservations in regards to the potential of a council having a full slate of newly elected officials. Not saying that is a definitive to happen, however, it is a possibility to happen. Do we have any flexibility, and I don't believe this to be the case based on my reading, to stagger that out? Or it has to be all 9 simultaneously upon the adoption of?
With the way and again, I'm doing a lot of this from memory, so if I have, like something slightly off, forgive me, but my recollection is no, it would be, the statute is very specific as to what you can do and what you can't do. Councilman Brescher and I probably went through 6, 8 iterations of can we do this, can we do that? And each time it wasn't no. Each time it was, you got to give me a little while to take a look at it and parse my way through 16 different statutory sections to figure this out. But it's what we came up with is, I believe, the only, in terms of establishing a ward system, a ward and at-large system, what we came up with is the only thing that would be available, the only method to roll it out.
Are there any examples of other municipalities that have considered the same transition as this, that hasn't been set up from their initial standpoint as a ward system?
There was this law came into being. A lot of the municipalities, I'm familiar with a lot of them in Hudson County. A lot of them came from old ward systems, and when they came up with the Faulkner Act, it provided all these various permutations for strong mayor, and then council, whether it's at large or at large and ward. I believe Bayonne is, we have 2 at large and 3 wards. Jersey City has 6 wards, 3 at large. And those all would have come in, but certainly not in my lifetime. Would have been sometime in the early 50s.
So then it is possible, it doesn't have to be necessarily a 5-4 in terms of the split ward versus at-large.
For some reason, I thought it did, but you're right. Jersey City isn't set up that way. I don't know if Jersey City has a special municipal charter, or I could take a look at it, but
In regards to this for tonight, I still have a lot of questions before putting it up for consideration in a resolution standpoint. I'm certainly open to furthering the discussion, but I do have, as you've heard, considerations.
it depends on how council wants to do it. The only thing I would ask is that if you have questions, shoot me an email so that I can have answers for you. If it comes up at the next meeting. I'll do my best to get them to you beforehand, but I don't want to be, as the people who've been sitting here a while know, you've been here a while too. I try not to fly off the seat of my pants if I don't have to. I'd prefer to know the answers. I'd prefer to know the questions so I can give you, an intelligent answer going forward. So.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mr. Roxbury.
Yeah, Council President, a couple of clarifications here. Good questions, Councilman Poyner here. Again, as I said, this is not set in stone, this ordinance, and there is a potential, the tweaks that can be made. But question out of curiosity, is there a way that we can have 2 questions on the ballot, right? You want 9, can you run all those permutation combination, those were the concerns? Because it's something, if we can.
I believe that is allowed. I need to take a look at it, but I believe there is, it is either you can have the one ordinance with several questions, or you may be able to have several ordinances. Probably not. I believe so, but I'll try to take a look at it for you.
In short, can we put 2 questions on the ballot, right?
But I think that's what this is going to be. This is going to be, one is for a ward system that, let's say that passes. The other is for the council to be expanded to 9. So if the council not being expanded to 9 does not pass, but the ward system passes, then we would be a 7 council, and it would be a 4-3 ward system. So it is in the format of the 2 questions. I mean, for myself, the whole idea was back when Edison was established and we established this, I don't know what our population was here, 50,000 people. You know, to get out to 50,000 people was tough then. But now we're at 100,000. And, you know, we all walked. Every one of us here walked. And every one of us here knows that there was no way possible to see everybody. The people we stopped and seen were the people that we knew were definitely voting, that never missed voting. And we're not meeting everybody. Well, if you had a smaller, you know, if your ward was smaller, you only have to get out to 10,000 people as opposed to, you know, 40, 50,000. So it's my idea expanding the council just was that the town expanded. Okay, and when the town expanded, the council probably should have expanded back in the 80s, and we haven't. That was it.
Understood. And Councilman, I think only there could be a reservation that, you know, everyone will have to run, and they might end up losing their current term. So that I see that could be a reservation. So that's what I was saying. Are there multiple questions? Can we put it? Again, this is all brainstorming, but I think we can shoot all the questions to our attorney and then let him figure it out, the solution out of this.
Yeah, now that you say that, Councilman, yeah, I need to take a look at it, because Councilman Pointer's point made sense, but I think we ultimately determined, because that goes back to Councilwoman Harris's question, is you ran for a 4-year term and you only get a 2-year term. I don't think it evaporates. Okay. I don't think the current, I have to look at it. I don't think it evaporates. I have to check it, though.
Councilman Brescher, do you want to rescind your motion and we'll have a further discussion?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I proposed it 2 weeks ago. I gave council colleagues 2 weeks to come up with your questions, formulate them, ask me, ask the attorney. You're asking for another 2-week extension because everybody didn't go through it, and I don't have a problem doing that. But at the next meeting, right, I'm going to request from council president that at the next meeting that this one here is put up. Now, if before that, my council colleagues come back to me and say, listen, we want to change the word "the" today or something, whatever that might be, we can make those changes. You know what I mean? Because you don't put the agenda together until that Wednesday before. So there should be plenty of time for everybody to get their answers that they're looking for. So yeah, I don't mind pulling that back tonight.
I agree with Councilman Brescher. Let's give the time to the council colleagues. And
I want to see 3 to 4 samples of the, what different wards look like. I want to see 3 to 4 samples, and I read the same thing that Pointer did about the state, about the 2-year term. Like both of us can't be wrong because we read the same information about how that cuts down on some of the people's terms, so.
yeah, but attorney differed with that. That's what, we need to get those more clarification. And again, the intent is not, anyone should not lose any term or any period.
And then there's same people that may live somewhere like within a ward or whatever, that pits them all against each other at that particular time. So that's why I want to see, I want to see 4 different instances of how we could rectify and how we can move that forward, and what it would entail, and the information that's needed to move it in the proper way. I just don't want that, like Councilman Coyle said, soon as the mayor gets in, all of a sudden we want to take all its power in 5 seconds. I mean, we haven't even out. What's today's date? The 22nd?
24th.
The 22nd? You've been a councilman, you've been a council member for all the 22 days? He's been a mayor for 22 days. I thought we would bring this up like in about March or April.
Council Vice President, but this is not something that's
22
going to happen
days.
tomorrow. This is going in November. It will be effective next year, and that's
No,
when
no,
the
no,
process
no,
will
no.
start.
What I'm stating is that we've been 22 years in, and some of us are still, in the learning mode back and forth, and we're getting added stuff on top of it. I'm just saying, to be fair to everyone that's involved, that me counting down the days is like an important feature, and I would like, 4 different ways in which certain, and then I want the truth of how it would affect different people, because that's not fair to them to not know how
Agree.
it would directly affect them.
Only one my remark, final, Council President here is, what we just heard from the attorney that since a year we are talking about this ordinance. So this is not something, and at the same time, we need to give, enough time to our new
I
council
hear you,
colleagues.
sir, but I said they've only been on 22 days.
That's what I'm saying,
Like,
we need to give them
they've
enough
been on
time.
22 days, so that they haven't had that year to discuss.
Correct. So, we, at least 4 of the council people had this at least for a year. And for 3, and I'm pretty sure, because they are in politics, they are elected, they were attending or watching the council meetings. So they might be aware what is happening around this. But again, as I said, I fully support Councilman Brescher, 2 weeks, no hurry, no rush. If it again, more discussion is to happen, we'll go again with the more discussion. Again, there's nothing harm here and there's no rush.
Right. All I was asking was that, right, when I put it up 2 weeks ago, I thought everybody, because we get our agenda, I think we got our agenda on Friday, Council President. And as of Friday, I was actually able to go through everything with the exception of planning board recommendations, because I just didn't have the time to do that, right? But that was me getting this whole agenda on a Friday, and here I am on a Monday, and I'm very well versed in a lot of this. I had one question for Matt earlier, where the word thing that I handed out was 2 weeks ago. So I'm saying it's okay for another 2 weeks, but what I don't want to get is, let me ask Bill Northgrave another question at the next meeting. We should be well informed and well versed. That's all I'm asking. Thank
Council
you.
President, may I
Councilman
ask,
Warner.
or may I request a clarification in the proposed ordinance where, if, to Councilman Brescher's point, if the 9 members failed but the ward system passed, that it would go 4-3, because I did not get that interpretation through any of my research, and noted in the future that if something is brought up, I was not aware it was definitively going to be brought up today, but noted for the future.
No, yeah.
Rookie mistake.
No, maybe, right, I said, the last meeting, I said I'm going to bring that up at the next meeting.
Maybe I misunderstood. Apologies.
Yeah, that's fine.
Councilman Brescher, I'm open to be convinced between the time frame of the next council meeting, but by you rescinding your motion, I'm not committing to putting it on the agenda, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I think we have 3 new council members on this dais here today who have a chance to prove themselves. I think part of the identified reasoning behind packing the council, which is exactly what this tends to do, to have more representation, doesn't necessarily clarify that the more representation is going to make that those council members are going to work for their community. We've had a lot of stories on this council, and we ran together because we were determined to do more work. I'm open to looking at this at a later date. I'm not saying it's tomorrow, but I'm open to give the mayor a chance and the new council members a chance to see what they can do for the residents. We've run this for decades with 7 council members, and I think this body has done a great job. I do see the thought process between having, detailed representation, no different than I have in the Claire Barton section. It's just a niche that I propose. I happen to live there. Each one of us supposed to care about the entire town, and it's challenging for all of us to get to the entire town. So I understand your point. I just think I want to give this council and the mayor time, and that's why I'm not committing to putting it on at the next meeting. But I'm open to having caucuses and having discussions. I'm open to sit down with you. I'm open to sit down with Mr. Pointer. Any meetings you want to hold individually or together with a quorum we're allowed to have, we'll do so. And moving forward with this, if we have any questions today, let's refer them straight to Mr. Northgrave so that we're not crossing over. Just CC the council president and the clerk's office and the mayor, but let's direct them all to Mr. Northgrave so we get the definitive answers of where this is going.
Right.
So I just want to give you my intentions, but I do understand your purpose.
No, Council President, it's your prerogative to put what's on the agenda, right? We've had discussions about that, where there were things on the agenda, I asked you questions, you didn't know about it. Right, I mean, you should vet everything before it goes on. So being that you're going to vet this so highly, and you're not inclined to put it up for a vote, we'll put it up from the floor. But since you're talking about how well you vet things, moving forward from today, I will not be asking the administration my questions. I will be asking Council President my questions at the council meetings to see how aware he is of the items on the agenda. Thank you, Council President.
No problem. Thank you, Councilmember Drescher.
Council President?
Are we rescinding this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Council Drescher, are we rescinding this for now, or do you want to roll call on this?
No, I said out of respect for everybody else to give them additional 2 weeks, yes. And if you're against it at the end of that, that's fine. You know what I mean? That's an opinion. It was just a matter of coming up for a vote and giving everybody an opportunity, as opposed to making everybody go out there and walk and get the signatures. That's all.
And we understand, well, I certainly understand, Councilman Brescia, this will run its course, whether the body here decides or not,
Yes.
that some of the residents of Edison might get together and walk door to door to put this on as a referendum. And that'll be the choice of the people who feel the strength behind that. Today, I'm not behind that. But we may all get there. I think there's some time and some education to clarify what exactly is in the details. So thank you, Councilman Brescher.
Council President?
Yes.
I'm just concerned that we've spent so much time talking about what's essentially elections and not about what the public needs at this point. This is way, way too much time spent on this, and I would like to move to shut this discussion down.
I think we're at complete right now, and thank you, Councilman Harris. I'll move forward. Councilman Brescher, and my comments for me, I have no comments other than the comments from the issue with the taxes to the BA. Could we have the tax collector present at the next meeting? I know she wasn't feeling well.
Right.
But there's two misunderstandings with this particular interest rate and the appeals and how everything's wrapped together and whether one affects the other. At the end of the day, the townships needs to collect money, and the intended purpose behind the interest rate, I think we do some verification from our tax collector of the intended purpose of why the interest rate, and if we can lower it, let's look at what towns have done this, and it'd be nice to have her here.
Do you want her here Wednesday or the next following work session?
Well, I planned on keeping this on the agenda, so I would prefer to have her here that evening if we have a question for her
On Wednesday.
on Wednesday.
I will,
Because if it
She's
needs to be
healthy.
pulled
I'll ask her.
and there's some clarification she can make of
Okay.
why or why not. I know she's not feeling well, and perhaps this council may take another expert that's in her field that may work. But it's important that we know what the factors are by delaying this. And we also, Councilman Porter mentioned that could we pass this and then change back? Because if we can, then we can move forward on Wednesday and we can always, reclaim the opportunity that the council brought up to bring down the interest rate.
as far as passing it, then changing it later in the year, I'll leave that to the town attorney to advise. If the collector is available and healthy, she'll be here.
And to Councilman Patil's discussion about the COVID, if there can be a directive on the website, I think that was something he was trying to clarify. If we can have something on the website or discussion that people can click to know to go to the Board of Ed, that these questions to change the Board of Ed, we have no authority here. So if they have questions on the Board of Ed, we can just put a click that they can go right to the superintendent, they can email certain people. I think just a general directive.
Okay.
Perhaps it's something, and I know that could be complicated at the moment to think, but that was a question that was asked. And I have nothing further at this time. Thank you. Thank you, council members. Could I have a motion to close adjourn the meeting?
Motion?
Can I have a motion from Councilman Harris, a second? Second. All in favor? All in favor? This meeting is adjourned.